Right now, as you stare into this screen, a microscopic cascade of high-energy blue light photons is physically restructuring the neural pathways in your prefrontal cortex, effectively rewriting how your brain decides what is valuable. I am not talking about some metaphorical influence or psychological habit. I mean actual physical remodeling of your brain tissue happening in real time. We have finally cracked open the biological architecture of the digital screen habit, and what we have discovered is far more remarkable and, frankly, more empowering than anyone realized. Over the next few minutes, we are going to trace the exact pathway of this digital takeover. You will understand the precise feedback loops that alter your dopamine pathways, while your brain physically shrinks in key regions responsible for focus, and how you can actively use this science to rebuild your attention span. This is not a lecture about giving up your technology. It is a scientific revelation about reclaiming the biological sovereignty of your own mind. Think about that strange, restless pull in your chest when you set your device down, only to pick it up again 30 seconds later without even realizing you did it. You did not make a conscious choice to check for messages. Your hand just moved. We often label this as a personal failure of discipline, but that is a profound misunderstanding of human evolutionary biology. The truth is, your smartphone is not just a communication tool. It is a beautifully engineered behavioral modification machine. Every red notification dot is specifically calibrated to mimic the visual frequency of ripe fruit or danger in nature, triggering a tiny, involuntary microburst of anticipation before you even register what you are looking at. To truly understand how this works, we must look at how our ancient brains calculate reward. In 2021, Dr. Anna Lembke, a pioneering psychiatrist and neuroscientist at Stanford University, published groundbreaking research on the balance between pleasure and pain in the brain. Whenever you swipe down to refresh a social media feed, your brain releases a wave of dopamine, which is not actually the molecule of pleasure, but the molecule of anticipation. It is the chemical that whispers, "Look here, there might be something life-saving or fascinating just around the corner." But nature demands a perfect homeostatic balance. Every time your dopamine levels spike in response to a digital reward, your brain immediately dips below its baseline level to compensate, creating a temporary state of emotional deficit. That subtle, uncomfortable dip is that exact nagging feeling of restlessness that makes you want to swipe again. It is a literal biological seesaw. The more frequently you press that digital button, the harder your brain works to pull your dopamine baseline down, leaving you feeling chronically bored and unsatisfied when you are offline. Now, let us trace this seesaw directly into the physical architecture of your brain. Dopamine is produced in a primitive region near the base of your brain called the ventral tegmental area. From there, it shoots forward like an electric current along the mesolimbic pathway, terminating in the nucleus accumbens, which is your brain's pleasure and motivation center. In a natural environment, a surge of dopamine was rare. Finding a beehive filled with honey or a fresh water source triggered a massive spike, signaling your brain to remember exactly how you got there. Today, however, you do not have to climb trees or hunt wild game. You simply scroll. The consequence of this effortless access is what neuroscientists call downregulation, when the nucleus accumbens is constantly flooded with dopamine from endless notifications, video autoplays, and algorithmically tailored feeds. It begins to protect itself. It does this by retracting its dopamine receptors. Think of it like walking into a room with incredibly loud music. At first, it is overwhelming, but eventually, your ears adjust and the music feels quieter. Your brain is doing the exact same thing with dopamine. It is tuning down its sensitivity, which means that ordinary, everyday experiences, like reading a book, going for a walk, or having a deep conversation, suddenly feel incredibly dull. Yet, we must appreciate the beautiful irony of this system. This exact same dopamine pathway is what allowed our ancestors to track prey across miles of open savanna, build tools, and explore new continents. It is a magnificent engine of human progress. When you use this system to learn complex coding languages, navigate intricate virtual landscapes, or connect with minds across the globe, you are witnessing human plasticity at its absolute finest. The problem is not the technology itself, but the fact that our biological seesaw was never designed to be tipped thousands of times a day. Do you remember the last time you sat in complete silence for 5 minutes without checking your phone or listening to a podcast? It feels almost uncomfortable now, doesn't it? This brings us to the most startling revelation of modern neuroscience. Your brain is physically remodeling its own structure in response to high screen exposure. In 2018, Dr. Martin Teicher and his research team at Harvard University conducted extensive neuroimaging studies on young adults. What they discovered was remarkable. They found a measurable reduction in gray matter volume in the prefrontal cortex, the very seat of your executive function, decision-making, and emotional regulation. Let that sink in. The parts of your brain that you need to resist temptation, make long-term plans, and maintain deep focus are the exact areas being degraded by the constant fragmentation of your attention. It is like trying to build a muscle while simultaneously exposing it to a microscopic tear every single second. But the damage is not just structural, it is environmental. When we look at neuroimaging scans of individuals with high screen exposure, the loss of gray matter is not just a random occurrence. Gray matter consists of the neuronal cell bodies, neuropil, glial cells, and capillaries that facilitate the heavy lifting of computational processing in your mind. When this volume decreases, your brain's processing speed and its capacity to hold complex, multi-layered thoughts simultaneously begin to falter. You become highly susceptible to distraction, struggle to regulate your moods, and find yourself trapped in a loop of short-term gratification. Under the influence of constant digital multitasking, these white matter tracts can become disorganized, leading to a breakdown in communication between your emotional centers and your rational brain. If gray matter is the computational processor, white matter is the high-speed fiber optic cabling that connects different brain regions. This disorganization is why you might find yourself feeling unusually irritable or anxious after hours of mindless scrolling. Your emotional brain is firing rapidly, but the rational prefrontal cortex is struggling to send the signals required to calm it down. Your phone does not even need to be turned on to steal your cognitive capacity. In 2017, Dr. Adrian Ward led a fascinating study at the University of Texas at Austin. He placed participants in a room to complete high-level cognitive tasks. Some had their phones on the desk face down, some in their pockets, and others in another room entirely. The phones were completely silent, and notifications were turned off. The results were astonishing. Those with their phones on the desk performed significantly worse on cognitive tests than those whose phones were in another room. Even when you are actively ignoring your phone, a portion of your prefrontal cortex is working to not look at it. It is a constant, invisible leak of your mental energy. Every app, every potential text message, and every unanswered email represents a tiny hole in the bottom of your cognitive bucket. Even if you are not actively using your phone, your brain must allocate significant metabolic resources to suppress the urge to check it. This is what neuroscientists call the brain drain effect. Your working memory, which is already a highly limited resource, is being quietly consumed by the mere proximity of a digital gateway. But let us look at the other side of this neurological coin. When Dr. Gary Small at the University of California, Los Angeles, conducted studies on older adults who were completely new to the internet, he found something spectacular. After just 5 days of performing simple web searches for 1 hour a day, their prefrontal cortex showed a dramatic increase in neural activity. Their brains were literally waking up, forming new synapses, and expanding their cognitive horizons. The digital world is not a poison. It is an incredibly powerful evolutionary playground. The key is knowing how to build the fence around that playground. Knowing this biological reality does not mean we should retreat to the woods and throw our devices in a river. Instead, we can use this exact science to redesign our digital environment so our brains do not have to work so hard to stay in control. There are 3 highly effective, scientifically validated adjustments you can make today to reverse this cognitive drain. First, you must alter the visual salience of your device. By shifting your screen color settings to grayscale, you instantly strip away the artificial biological value of those red notifications and bright app icons. Suddenly, your phone looks incredibly boring. The neurological pull drops instantly because your ancient visual cortex no longer perceives the screen as a treasure trove of high-energy rewards. Our ancestors evolved to seek out bright colors because they signaled valuable resources, like ripe fruit or fresh water. By removing color, you bypass this deep-seated evolutionary trigger entirely. Second, implement the rule of physical distance during deep work. Based on Dr. Ward's findings, placing your phone in a drawer, or better yet, in an entirely different room, removes the constant cognitive burden of ignoring it. You are not testing your willpower. You are freeing up the prefrontal cortex to do the deep, creative work it was designed for. When the phone is physically out of sight, your brain's default expectation of receiving a notification drops dramatically, allowing you to slip into a flow state with far less effort. Third, build deliberate micro breaks of complete visual rest into your day. Instead of looking at your phone during a transition between tasks, look out a window at a distant object for 90 seconds. This triggers a biological response known as panoramic vision, which instantly downregulates your sympathetic nervous system, lowering your heart rate and resetting your focus baseline. When you look at a wide horizon, your eyes relax, signaling to your amygdala that you are safe and that the high alert state of narrow focal attention can be turned off. Let this remarkable truth settle in for a moment. By simply moving your phone to another room and turning off its color, you can reclaim up to 30% of your daily cognitive capacity without changing anything else about your life. When you look at your screen now, you do not have to see it as a symbol of your own lack of control. You can see it for what it truly is, a beautifully engineered, highly advanced tool that you have the absolute power to master. You are no longer a passive passenger in an algorithmic game designed to capture your attention. You are the conscious curator of your own biological attention. You understand the levers, you know the chemistry, and you hold the key to your own cognitive freedom. Your relationship with your device is about to change forever. You are no longer a user reacting to a stimulus. You are a biological system in an interactive partnership with machine intelligence, and you now understand how to set the parameters of that partnership. The digital world is yours to command, but only when you actively choose where your attention goes. Now that you understand the hidden biological architecture of your daily digital life, you have a distinct advantage. Put these 3 adjustments into practice today and observe how your focus, clarity, and mental energy begin to return. If you want to continue decoding the hidden science of how the digital world is reshaping our minds, subscribe to Digital Decoded. Our next exploration reveals how the invisible algorithms behind modern search platforms are quietly altering our memories of our own lives, and how to stop it. Keep exploring, stay curious, and I will see you in the next discovery.